My name is Levy Sun. I'm also known as the mosquito guy around Pasadena because, well, I'm from the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. And today, we're going to talk about a very exciting campaign called the Bite Back program. There are 3 things that we're going to discuss in the next 20 or so minutes about the Bite Back campaign. First, we're going to reframe how we think about mosquitoes and how we use the water around our communities and even in our own backyards. Secondly, we're going to learn about the balance of community response to mosquito problems right in our own homes. And third, we're going to tell you exactly what you can do about the mosquitoes. Hint, hint, it involves your neighbors. So this presentation has been cleverly disguised as a Mosquito 101 class. So welcome. Bring out your pen, paper, and anything you want to write down with, because we're going to talk a little bit about mosquito biology. Now, before we get into the biology, you may have already heard a term in our agency name that may have you a little bit perplexed, the word vector. We are vector control, so we control for vectors. What is a vector? It's any animal that can transmit a disease to another animal, including people. So mosquitoes are actually the vector that we are most concerned with here in Pasadena. Now, in Pasadena, we have an amazing city. No matter where you go, you're going to find amazing food options and amazing people, but unfortunately, you're going to find some not so amazing mosquitoes. Now, mosquitoes do exist beyond Pasadena. It is a worldwide issue, but the key thing about learning about mosquitoes is that they're part of our ecosystem, and they're part of the balance of an ecosystem. So when you think about the balance of an ecosystem, I'm talking about some of the things that you imagine. For example, in the ocean, in a rainforest. But also think about our ecosystem when we as people come in and develop into that land, for like a city. When we develop into a city, we actually become part of that ecosystem, and whatever we do impacts that ecosystem. The same thing applies at a more minuscule level in your own backyards. Your own backyard is its own ecosystem, and everything you do, everything we do as a community in our own homes impacts the local ecosystem, which may or may not be conducive to mosquitoes. So today we're going to talk about that balance. There's a very delicate balance here that we can all take to make sure that we are developing our homes, developing our communities, but not developing mosquitoes. To better understand mosquitoes, we need to understand where they come from. A vast majority of people already know that they come from stagnant water. What they don't know is how quickly a mosquito can go from egg to adult. When a mosquito bites you, and it's always the female mosquito that bites, they will take your blood and use the protein to develop the eggs. And where do they lay those eggs? Right in your own backyards where they can find stagnant water. And they'll lay the eggs either on the surface of the water or on the sides of the container or on any object that's rooting in that water. And within 7 days, that egg or all those eggs that are laid in that container will come out as biting adult mosquitoes. So what we want to do is make sure that everyone is aware that mosquitoes come from any amount of stagnant water, and that can produce mosquitoes in as little as 7 days. So quick math here. If a mosquito lays 150 eggs in one little plant saucer, imagine then in about 7 days, you have 150 mosquitoes flying around your backyard. Now remember, the second thing I wanted us to talk about is how we think about how we use water in our cities. Let's break it down to 2 different spheres, the public sphere and private sphere. In the public sphere, you know water use when you see it. The water is pulled up in the gutter, it's probably pulled up in a channel or a river, or maybe you may hear it running into the underground storm drains. That's the public sector of where water will run. In vector control, we call that water urban drool. It just drools right into our system and hopefully out into the ocean. But as you and I know, chances are that water will probably sit there for a bit. Don't worry, we're on it. As vector control, we do control for mosquitoes, and we do have a database where we look at where water is stagnant and we treat for them. That's the public sphere. Let's talk a little bit about the private sphere. That's in your realm mostly, in your own backyards, in your own patios, places that us as a government agency and public health do not have ready access to. So we rely a lot on residents looking around their own private sphere in their own backyards and patios for stagnant water. Because as you now know, mosquitoes can come out of almost any amount of stagnant water, including a bottle cap of water. But also, when you think about other sources of water, like a swimming pool, that's a big source that could be in your neighborhood. In fact, one swimming pool can produce up to 3 million mosquitoes a month. That's a lot of bites. Now, in addition to the biting, a lot of people are also concerned about the disease threats of mosquitoes. And that's important to remember, because when we want to start up a bite back campaign in your neighborhood, we can't just talk about the bites, as annoying as they are. We need to talk about the public health threat of the diseases they spread when they bite. Here in Pasadena, the most persistent threat from mosquitoes in terms of disease is West Nile virus. And we want to make people aware that if you get bit, it's kind of like mosquito roulette. You don't know if you have it, but when you do and you show symptoms, it can be pretty severe. Those who do show symptoms will exhibit fever, they can have body aches, and many times when you get those symptoms, you may think it's just a flu and you'll pass it off and pretend it's nothing else. But in some rare instances, West Nile can result in hospitalization and even death. Now, I talk about diseases and its impact on human health. But in all my years of working with residents, not just in Pasadena, but throughout LA County, I have heard a lot of residents say, well, I'm not worried about the disease. If it's a bite, no big deal. And this is where we have to talk about the balanced approach to mosquito control solutions. I have met with 3 different groups of residents. There's that first group I just mentioned that just said, well, you know what? Mosquitoes are here in our community, so what? They bite me, they bite me. There's another group of residents who I've met who are up in arms about the bites. And they are in this angry red group that just want to destroy and eliminate all mosquitoes from the city. There's also a third group, a little more balanced, and they're the ones that say, we don't like mosquitoes, but at the same time, we want to do something about it. And we know that mosquito control can't just spray their way to the solution. And we know that as residents, we need to do our part. Let's take a look at these 3 groups. They're on this scale, what I call the mosquito response scale. We have those that are in the red, that wants to kill all mosquitoes, get them out of our ecosystem. We have the ones that are in green, that are balanced, saying we will do our part. And we have the ones in blue who say, let them eat us and make us a buffet. Now, what I want to do is then take this scale and apply it to 2 different groups of mosquitoes here in Pasadena. So keep that pen and paper handy, because you're going to want to know this. The first group of mosquito is called Culex, C-U-L-E-X. There are native southern house mosquitoes, and they're very common. In fact, if you grew up here in Pasadena, you know them. They're the little brown mosquitoes that bite, usually at dawn and dusk. They're actually the ones that are responsible for transmitting West Nile virus. And on the mosquito response scale, a lot of us are in the blue group, where we're saying, it's okay, we're used to them, we just won't go outside at dawn or dusk. And there's a few of us are in the angry red group, and a few of us in the, okay, I'll go ahead and do something about it. That's the response scale that we've seen here in Pasadena as well regarding the Culex mosquito. Now, I want to talk about another group. This is the second group of mosquito that really has people talking. This group of mosquito is called the 80s mosquito. Not to be confused with the decade 1980s, it's 80s, A-E-D-E-S. You know them as little black and white mosquitoes that are ankle biters. They unfortunately are known to transmit Zika, yellow fever, dengue fever, and even chikungunya. As of right now, none of those are spreading locally here in Pasadena, and we hope they never will. But they're very aggressive and they can spread very quickly through neighborhoods. Now, in terms of the response scale of these Aedes mosquitoes, here in Pasadena, I have seen a lot of people in that red zone where they're saying, I am so sick of not being able to go outside during the daytime. I'm getting bit up all over. My kids are bit. I can't even go get the mail and not get bit. And these are a lot of folks that are in the red zone that say, just get rid of them. We want you to spray. We want you to do this. We went out and went to Home Depot and sprayed this and that. This is what we've heard. We have not heard a lot yet from people who are in the green balance group of we'll do something about it, or in the blue group who say, let them bite. Because you don't just let them bite. When they bite, it is very aggressive and you will feel it. So those are the two different groups of mosquitoes and the two different response scales that are associated with them. Now here is where a balanced mosquito neighborhood response scale should look like. A sliver of folks will still be in the red angry zone. A sliver of folks will be in the blue, bit apathetic zone. But a majority of us should be in that green zone, where we say, we recognize these two groups of mosquitoes. We know that mosquito control can't do everything. We know that residents can't do everything. We need to work together to find a solution. And studies after studies have shown that when communities come together to work on a solution regarding mosquito issues, there are results. They have found a lot less sources of stagnant water in people's homes. They also have found that there is a lot less biting around the community. So I do want to point out that as vector control, we are out there in your community. And while most of us think that we may be going out to spray or to treat for mosquitoes, very rarely is that our actual activity. A majority of what we do is actually education, talking to people, educating them about mosquitoes. And we also do a lot of treatments in water sources, where we target the mosquito larvae in the water. And a lot of the pesticide that we do use is an organic pesticide called BTI. It's a bacteria that's used a lot in organic farms, and you can find them in your pool supply section of hardware stores. Very rarely will we ever be up in the air spraying from the skies. Very rarely will you see us actually spray from any other mechanism unless there is a public health emergency. So we ask people to do what we do, put down that spray can, pick up a container, and toss out that water. That way you have less bites, and it's a more sustainable way to get rid of mosquitoes. All right, we have some questions here from some residents. Can mosquitoes spread COVID-19? That is a very common question we do get from residents. And the answer is very similar to what the CDC and the World Health Organization have determined, and that is there is no evidence that mosquitoes can spread COVID-19. Are you part of the Pasadena Health Department? A lot of residents do confuse us as part of the Pasadena Health Department, but as the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District, we are different agencies, but we do work very closely with Dr. Go and her team in the health department. We deal with a lot with not only just mosquitoes, but also issues with fleas and typhus. If my neighbor has a pool that's producing mosquitoes, what can I do? Well, as you know now, swimming pools can produce up to 3 million mosquitoes a month if they're unmaintained. So we ask every resident to actually go to our website, sgvmosquito.org, or call us at 626-814-9466 to submit a tip about any swimming pool that you see in your community that may be a mosquito problem. And what we try to do is make sure that pool gets put into our database so that we can respond to it immediately. I see a lot of repellents claiming to be effective against mosquitoes. What mosquito repellents should I look for? There are definitely a lot of stuff on the shelf. If you're like me and you're walking through a market and you're looking at repellents, you're probably a little awestruck at the amount of colors and brands that are out there that are sold to protect you from mosquito bites. But there are 4 ingredients you should always look for. DEET, oil of lemon eucalyptus, IR3535, and picaridin. Now, DEET has been around for a while. It is the gold standard for repellent, but oil of lemon eucalyptus has been gaining in popularity along with picaridin. So be sure to pick up that bottle and just look on the bottom of the ingredient list and they'll tell you exactly what they have in there. Do these bracelets, fans, and bug zappers work against mosquitoes? We see a lot of bracelets, fans, and bug zappers, not just here in Pasadena, but throughout LA County. So unfortunately, the scientific answer is not really. So with the bracelets, they work really well around your wrist, where they're most effective. So you might still get bites on your ankles or on your arms. When you wear those fans or you put your fan out on a patio, they're okay, but they don't completely cover any exposed skin that may not be hit by that fan. And when it comes to bug zappers, research has shown that they actually kill more beneficial insects than mosquitoes. I've actually gone through and did a test with several cities and found that a lot of what they catch in their bug zappers are actually moths and other insects that are not even mosquitoes. How long do mosquitoes live? Well, mosquitoes don't actually live that long. The male mosquito tends to live about a couple weeks because their only goal in life is to mate and then die. The female mosquitoes, however, can live for about a month. Now, it all depends on the environment. And in the city, we have created an infrastructure to allow all these mosquitoes to survive even through our winters. And our winters are not even that cold, but if they are cold, we have found a lot of mosquitoes going into our underground storm drain systems and hunkering down for a couple months before it gets warm again. And when it's warm again, they just all fly out. So mosquitoes can, in a way, hibernate or overwinter, but for the most part, they do die off in about a month or less. Can you tell us more about the mosquito fish and how residents can get them? Mosquito fish is one of our best tools that we have, and they're considered biological natural control. We use them so much in a lot of different permanent water sources, such as ponds and water features that are not circulating, because these mosquito fish, they look just like guppies, and they are voracious eaters of mosquito larvae. So they're really hardy fish. They can survive through our SoCal winters, and they are one of our best friends in the field that monitor for mosquitoes 24/7. Is mosquito control ever going to use new technologies like releasing male mosquitoes to combat mosquitoes here? I hear it's a pesticide-free way to control mosquitoes. Over the years, we have been hearing more and more residents asking us about new technology that is not just spraying pesticides. And as our agency mission is concerned, we definitely are very interested in these new technologies. In the past, we have trialed and worked with a bacteria that allows mosquitoes to be used and to basically flatten the mosquito population. And we are also interested in other technologies like X-ray mosquitoes that are a little cheaper to produce, and they do the same thing. We release these male mosquitoes, remember male mosquitoes don't bite, into an area. They mate with the female mosquitoes in their target community, and the resulting eggs are not viable. So over time, we start reducing the mosquito population. Now keep in mind though, we don't want to kill all mosquitoes because some mosquitoes actually do have a use in our ecosystem. We want to target the most pertinent groups of mosquitoes like the Aedes mosquitoes and the Culex mosquitoes, which are found primarily in your own backyards and in the cities because they prefer to feed on the animals like us here in the city. So we don't want to get rid of the mosquitoes that are out in the countryside or are thriving naturally, but we do want to get rid of the ones here that are more of a disease threat. But that's not all you can do. We need your help. We need residents here in Pasadena to rally together, not just in your specific districts here in the city, but throughout the community. It's really simple. All you need to do is contact us for just a quick 30-minute orientation to start off. We'll discuss with you expectations and what we can do with your neighbors, and actually come together and find some really creative solutions that not only can involve you as a resident, but also families in the area. We have a lot of citizen science projects that could be applied in the Bite Back program too. So to learn more and to sign up today, visit bitebackchampion.org or email us at outreach@sgvmosquito.org or give us a call, 626-214-0726. Let's not give mosquitoes a biting chance here this summer. Let's take back Pasadena from these bloodsuckers.